He had pawned like things for money for drugs, and he would use my money off my debit card, sometimes without me knowing, for drugs.
When he used drugs, would he be up a lot?
Yes.
Would he sometimes stay up all night?
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about his actions. Did he go out a lot?
Yes.
And when he went out, what would he, where, do you know where he'd go?
Usually one of the main bars was Breakaway, but he would just go out to bars.
Okay. And was it unusual for him to be gone a good portion of the night?
No.
When he'd go out at night, how many nights a week would he go out?
He would go out quite a few. I would probably have to say, I'd probably have to say 3 to 4.
And when would he come back if he went out at night?
Beyond bar close.
And you said one of the main ones he'd go to is Breakaway?
Yeah, and when it was still open, yes.
All right. Any other bars that he would go to?
Well, there was Denmar and some other little small ones like Rocks, Sidetrack.
And do you know when bar close would be typically?
2.
So he'd be out until after that?
Yes.
What time would he usually get home?
I guess it would depend, and I mean, I would have to say between maybe 4 and 5, depending on if he went somewhere afterwards.
Okay. What would you do while he went out?
I was usually at home taking care of the kids.
And whose kids were those?
His kids when he would have them, and then mine.
And then as of September, that included your newborn daughter?
Yes.
Obviously, you were pregnant during much of that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, as of 2010, did you have a cell phone?
Yes.
And do you recall who the provider for that cell phone was?
It was Einstein or Airfire Mobile.
Okay. And do you recall what your phone number was at that point in time?
I do not.
If I gave you a number, would you think that would sound familiar and you might remember it?
Yes.
The 715-906-6606 sound familiar?
Yes.
Is that your number as of the fall of 2010?
Yes.
Do you recall if the defendant had a cell phone as well?
Yes.
And do you remember his cell phone number?
No.
Again, if I give you a number, would it potentially sound familiar?
Yes.
715-846-5025.
Yes.
Now, in October of 2010, after Stephanie Lowe was murdered, did you call Airfire to check on call logs and find out if they kept call logs?
No, I did not.
Now, I know you testified previously that Eric Mahomes went by the nickname E.
Correct.
Did you know anybody else as of that time period that went by that same nickname in the Wausau area?
No.
Do you know if the defendant at that time ever mentioned anyone that went by the name of E besides Eric Mahomes?
No.
Let's talk about the night of October 9th into the early mornings of October 10th. Where were you staying that night?
I was at the Fergie Street apartment, so Chris's apartment.
And Who was there that night with you?
Kason, Romeo, and Kylie.
And do you know if the defendant went out that night?
Yes,
Do you know who he went out with?
with Rich.
And where was Rich staying that night? If you know.
I think he initially was at my place, but then met up over at Chris's Fergie Street apartment.
Okay. And then they went out.
Yes.
After Rich went out that night, did he come back to the Fergie Street apartment?
No.
Do you know which vehicle the defendant took when he went out that night?
No, I do not.
Were both of the vehicles at the Fergie Street apartment?
Yes.
And again, he had keys for both vehicles?
Yes.
What were your plans for the night?
To watch the children?
And did you stay then at the apartment the rest of the night?
Yes.
Did the defendant call you at any point in time that night?
He did, I believe, after I initially made contact to try and reach him.
Take a look. We have copies of your cell phone records and the defendant's cell phone records. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Andrea, I'm showing you what has previously been marked and admitted by stipulation as Exhibit 221, which is a document containing a number of items, included in there are your cell phone records. I'm showing you what is marked. It's page 1 of your call log for October 10th. It appears there was a phone call at 12:07 a.m. from the defendant's phone number to your phone number. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then it appears at approximately 12:11 a.m. And it appears that was a very, very short call because. So what is the exhibits that go in that phone?
225 for the first one.
No, this is the third one. This is the one that came from the
226. Is the fax marked?
226, no, we've got that one.
What is it marked?
One of was introduced to court. CB22, that one. This one wasn't marked.
I don't believe that was marked.
Oh, wait, I think it was through the, I think it was in the defense's form. If they asked him about that. Maybe it wasn't marked. All right, well, we'll just deal with this one, that's fine.
Can I have
I'm
it?
not sure what's up with that.
I don't believe it was marked.
Okay, all right.
A sticker.
Should you put the sticker on?
We've got 226, that's fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, Court, Your Honor.
May.
Andrea, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification as exhibit number 226. This is a knife that was previously identified by your mother as being found in the boat. All right, do you recognize that knife?
Yes.
And how do you recognize that knife?
Because of the handle part of it.
Okay. And where did that, was this your knife?
Yes, it was.
And where was it from?
My kitchen set,
Okay. And do you recall when you got that kitchen set?
I don't recall
Okay.
when.
All right. And Andrea, I'm going to show you what has previously been marked and admitted as exhibit number 225, which is a knife blade that was recovered with Stephanie Lowe's body. Can you tell me if that appears to be, to you, to be from that same set?
Yes, it does.
I'm
And why
going
do
to
you
object. I'm going to object. I don't think she's qualified to render that opinion.
Overruled.
Why do you say that?
Because there are a few rust marks on it, and the knives that I had in that set had quite a few rust marks on them.
Thank you. Does not appear to have been marked. And Andrea, it's showing you what has now been marked for identification as exhibit number 220 or 254, and ask you if you can identify that item.
Yes,
And what is that item?
a knife.
And do you recall, do you know where that knife came from?
No, I don't
All right.
remember.
As far as the set, I mean, is this appear
Oh,
to be the
yes,
same
it
set?
came from the same set, yes.
And the same set as the one that we had previously, the one that came from the boat, as well as what you believe the hand or the knife blade was that was the last exhibit.
Correct.
There was what, sorry, I didn't hear the tail end of your question.
The knife blade that was the last exhibit.
And the answer was,
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Andrea, I'm going to show you some photos. I just want to ask you a couple questions about them quickly. These are numbers 89, 90, 91, 92, and 93. Starting with 89, 90, do you recognize the individual in those photos?
Yes,
And who is it?
the defendant.
All right. And then 91, do you recognize the vehicle in that photo?
Yes,
And what vehicle is that?
that would be my van.
And then 92 and 93, do you recognize the individual in those photos?
Yes,
And who is that?
the defendant.
All right. So what I want to do, Your Honor, if I may, is publish these and ask some questions about them as we go along.
Any objection?
no, sir.
Go ahead.
So Andrew, showing you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 89. You said that's the defendant?
Yes,
Do you recognize that shirt?
yes,
Is that a shirt that you knew the defendant had as of October 10th of 2010?
Yes.
And for the record, this is a still from the surveillance video of Quick Trip, which is part of the stipulation number 221 that has been admitted. The surveillance video has been admitted by stipulation, and this is the Quick Trip on East Wausau Avenue, located in Wausau. And it appears this video is from approximately 12:07 a.m. on October 10th. Is that you're correct?
Yes.
And then exhibit number 90 appears to be just shortly after that, again showing that same shirt, correct?
Yes.
After that night, did you ever see that shirt again?
No, I did not.
Showing you what has been marked for identification as exhibit number 91. Do you recognize that vehicle?
Yes.
What vehicle was that?
That was my van at the time.
And the van that you owned as of October 10th of 2010?
Correct.
And again, the time on this appears to be 12:03 a.m.,
Yes.
so a little before the other videos, or the other images, correct?
Yes.
And then exhibit number 93, is that the defendant again?
Yes.
All right. And do you recognize those shoes?
Yes.
Do you know if you saw those shoes anymore after the morning hours of October 10th, 2010?
No.
And I'd move the admission of exhibits 89, 90, 91, and 93 at this point.
Any objection?
Let me just look at 93 for a moment.
Sure. Absolutely.
None. Yeah, those four exhibits will be received.
And finally, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification as 92. Is that, again, that's the defendant?
Yes.
All right. Do you recognize that shirt?
Yes.
And what shirt is that?
It's a shirt that he has on inside out. The opposite side has a logo on it that says "Stop Snitching."
And that photo, which again is part of the exhibits 221, comes from the surveillance video of the Quick Trip on Grand Avenue in Wausau. What is the time for that photo?
6:44.
AM
Yes.
on October 10th, 2010, correct?
Yes.
Move the admission of exhibit 92 at this point.
No objection?
It is received.
And Andrea, do you know if that's the shirt that the defendant was wearing when he left your residence, or his residence, I should say, after he came back and said he had done something to Stephanie?
That was the shirt he was, yes.
Now, after he left the residence, did you try and get in touch with him later that morning?
I don't remember.
Let's go back to the cell phone records. So here again we have your call log for October 10th. And it appears that at approximately 6:21 a.m. You attempted to call the defendant,
Yes.
And it appears that that's basically a second long call. And then another call for 7 seconds at 6:21:07.
Yes.
And then that's just a duplicate, and then another call at 6:21:43.
Yes.
And another call at 6:21:45.
Yes.
And that's a duplicate, another call at 6:22:18.
Yes.
And then a call at 6:22:21.
Yes.
And a call at, that's a duplicate again. And then a call at 6:22:59.
Yes.
And a call at 6:23:01.
Yes. I don't see it on there, but yes.
All right, right there. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not to his number. Never mind. A call at 6:23:01. Correct?
Yes. Can you move it up a little bit?
Yep. Okay, sorry. The 6:23:01.
Yes.
And then a call at 6:23:41.
Yes.
And then a call at 6:26:10.
Yes.
And it appears that that last one is a little bit longer. Did you finally get a hold of him then, do you think? Or was it just a voicemail, if you know?
I don't remember.
Okay. But it does appear you were trying
Yeah.
to get a hold of him quite a few times
Yes.
during that time frame.
Yes.
By the way, going back to when he was at the apartment, he said he initially that night was wearing the one shirt that we saw in the first picture of surveillance. Did you see him change clothes when he got back to your residence? Or not?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. Did the defendant sometime later that, a little bit later that morning call you?
Yes.
And approximately when did he call you?
I would have to say it was maybe like in 7 or 8 o'clock-ish.
Okay, well, we can go back to the cell phone record, that might help. Going back to those records, the same page we were just on, it appears there's a call from the defendant to you at approximately 7:13 a.m.
Yes.
All right. And it appears to be relatively short, and then another one at just a little bit after that at 7:13:51 that appears to be a little longer. Did you talk to him at that point in time?
Yes.
What did you discuss with him at that point?
At that point, he had asked me for directions up to my mom's cabin.
And did he tell you why he needed directions to your mom's cabin?
He didn't say specifically why.
Okay. And at that point in time, how were you feeling?
Scared,
Why?
because I wasn't really sure what he had actually done.
Okay. Were you able to give him directions?
No,
What did you discuss with him?
I was too upset to give him directions, and I had said that I would just have to take him up there.
And what did you do then?
I got ready to leave to go meet him.
You had the 3 children with you at that point in time?
Yes,
The defendant's 2 sons
yes,
and your 5-week-old daughter?
yes,
So did you get them ready?
yes.
What did you do then?
I got in the van.
Had you agreed to meet him at any particular location?
Yes, at a gas station called The Store
And where is that located?
in Weston.
And Did you go to that location?
Yes.
When you got to your van, did you notice anything that drew your attention?
Yes.
What did you see?
I had seen a white, like, camisole tank top, and it had blood spots on it.
Was it your camisole?
No.
When you saw that, what did you do?
I had contacted Chris
How did you contact him?
by phone.
So if we take a look at your phone records, it appears there was a phone call at approximately 7:43 a.m., correct?
Yes.
And is that the phone call that you made to advise him about finding that camisole?
Yes.
What did, when you told him they found this camisole in your van, did he tell you anything?
He said I better bring it with.
And did you?
Yes.
All right. Did you go to the store?
Yes.
What happened when you get to the store?
He was already there at one of the pumps with the boat on the back of the truck, and then I had pulled in like one away from him to the other gas pump.
Okay. And was there anybody with the defendant?
Yes.
Who?
Rich.
When you pulled in by the other gas pump, what did you do?
Started pumping gas.
Did you do anything with the camisole?
Yes, I had given it to Rich.
And so you pumped gas into your vehicle, into your van?
Yes.
And do you know if the defendant pumped any gas into his vehicle?
Yes.
After you pumped the gas, what did you do?
I went in and paid for it
And how did you pay for it?
with a credit card.
Was that yours?
Yes.
Show you what has been marked. Mayor Butcher. Again, this is part of the stipulation 221. Is a copy of the records from River Valley Bank. That was your bank?
Yes.
All right. And it shows a charge that was posted on 10/11, but that occurred on 10/10 of $41.07. Do you see that?
Correct.
Is that the charge for the gas at the store?
Yes.
All right. May I publish, Your Honor?
Right.
So, for the record, you see here an entry posted 10/11, but dated 10/10, correct?
Yes.
And that's the store, correct?
Yes.
And $41.07.
Yes.
Do you recall if you got anything besides the gas as part of that?
I had gotten 2 pieces of candy.
All right. And for the record, part of stipulation 221 is also the records from the store from that date, and may I publish it, Your Honor? This shows a receipt, correct, or a entry from the store, correct?
Yes.
All right, it shows $20.01 on one pump, correct?
Yes.
$20 on another, correct?
Yes.
And it shows 2 pieces of candy that were on a special, it appears 2 for $1, correct?
Yes.
All right. So the total is $41.07.
Yes.
And it appears the date on that sale is October 10th, 2010,
Yes.
and the time 7:52 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you leave the store?
Yes.
And who was leaving as you left the store?
I was.
And where did you go from there?
We started heading up towards the cabin.
All right. Let's go back a second, I'm sorry. When you got to the store, did you have a chance, did you look at the defendant's Jeep?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you said
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
All right, that's fine. And when you looked at the Jeep, did you look inside of it?
Yes.
Did you see anything that drew your attention in that vehicle?
Yes.
What did you see?
I had seen in the back seat, there was a large, like, tarp that looked like there was something in it.
And what did it look like was in that tarp?
Well, it was round and rolled, so it looked like there was a body in there.
And where was that located in that Jeep?
In the back seat, behind Chris and Rich.
Okay. So there would be, what types of seat were there in the front?
Bucket seats?
And then there was a back seat?
Yes.
Was that, what type of seat was that?
It was like a bench seat?
Okay, and then behind that was a cargo area?
Yes.
All right, there was not a third row of seats in that vehicle?
No.
All right. So this was on the bench seat that was the back seat?
Correct.
And did you recognize the tarp?
It was a tarp that would have came from the boat.
Okay. And what color was that tarp?
Blue.
Do you know if there was, by the way, did you have a chance to see the boat as well?
Yes.
Was there a tarp on the boat at that point?
No.
All right, so you left the store, you were leaving, then you went to the cabin?
Yes.
How long does it take to get to the cabin from there, approximately?
About 1.5, 2 hours.
Okay. Once you get to the cabin, what do?
I pull down the road, and then Chris starts backing the Jeep up. And then I turned around. I'm not sure if I turned around in the horseshoe driveway that is there. And then I stopped, and Chris had came up to the window.
Okay. Let's go back a second. You say he was backing up the Jeep. Where was he backing it up to?
He was backing it down, like next to the shed and the cabin.
Okay. And backing the boat to that area?
Yeah.
By the way, when you go to the cabin, where is the cabin located?
It's in a little town called Wabeno.
And that's Wadeno?
Correct.
All right. Is there anything near that cabin, any businesses?
A very large casino.
Okay. And when you go from Wausau to the cabin, can you tell us whether or not you go near or by Antigo?
Yes.
And do you?
Yes.
And approximately how far is it from Antigo to the cabin? If you know.
I don't know.
All right, that's fine. So the defendant backs the boat in near the shed and the cabin. You're stopped, turned around. What happens then?
He comes up to the window.
When he comes up to the window, what happens?
He asks me where he can buy a shovel.
When you say he comes up to the your vehicle, who's that?
Chris.
And when the defendant asks you where he can buy a shovel, what do you tell him?
I told him up the road because I'm not I don't know like the names and the exact directions. I had said up the road. And he had also tried to give me money at that point, and the money also had blood on it.
And did you take that money?
No,
When you say money, was it paper money or coins?
paper money.
And so you told him up the road. Did you later become familiar with where the name of that hardware store? Or do you know the name of it?
I don't know the name of the hardware store, but I believe the town is Townsend.
Okay, all right. And is there more than one hardware store there?
I don't think so.
And so you told him where the hardware store was, and he tried to give you the money. He said no. What happened there? What did you do then?
I left.
And where did you go from there?
I started to go home, but I had to stop at Walmart in Anago to feed the baby.
And that's Kylie.
Yes.
All right. Where was the defendant when you left?
When I left, he was still at the cabin.
Do you know how long it takes to get from the cabin to the hardware store? Approximately.
Maybe 10 minutes.
Right. So you stopped in Anago to feed your baby. Did you do anything else while you were there?
I didn't do anything else while I was there, but I did receive a message on my phone.
Okay, what type of message? Was that a text message?
Yes, it was a text message.
And who was that from?
It was from my ex-husband.
And that was shortly, that was around, I think, just before 11 o'clock.
That would sound correct.
And after you fed Kylie, what did you do?
Went home.
And where did you go?
I can't remember.
Okay. You're not sure if you went back to the condo or to the defendant's residence?
I think I went back to the condo, but I can't remember.
And at some point in time, did you have additional contact with the defendant that day?
Yes.
All right. Did he call you at some point in time?
Yes.
And we can go back to cell phone records. Actually, let's just to make clear, these are your cell phone records as far as your text records. It appears, and we'll just take a look here, that text message appears to be at 10:53 a.m., is that right?
Yes.
And that's on October 10th.
It would have been not like in the late evening, but, closer in the afternoon.
So later
Like-
part of the afternoon?
Yeah, the later part.
Around 5:30, somewhere in that range? Earlier or later?
I don't remember.
Okay. But when he calls you, obviously, he's not with you.
No.
He doesn't phone you when you're together, correct?
Right.
Yeah, Coach Honor. Showing you, Andrea, what had been previously admitted as Exhibit 70, which is a photo, that's a photo of your boat?
Yes.
All right. And there's a tarp on it, correct?
Yes.
I want to publish this, Your Honor, and then ask some questions about it.
Go ahead.
Andrea, looking at this photo of your boat, you see a tarp on top of it, correct?
Yes.
Was that tarp on it when you saw the boat last on October 10th at the cabin?
No.
Does that tarp look familiar?
Yes.
What looks familiar? What about it is familiar?
It's blue. It looks the same color. as the tarp I saw in the back seat.
Of the Jeep?
Yes,
The tarp that was rolled and appeared to be rolled over a body.
it looks like that one, yes.
And we've talked about your knives and the knife set. Were there did there come a time, or were there times when knives were missing from that set?
Yes,
And did that include the two knives that we talked about that are intact?
yes,
Were there other knives from that set that were also missing?
yes.
Was there like, I think what's known as a utility knife, they're usually about 5-6 inches long, something like that? Was there one of those in that set?
Yes,
Was that missing?
I don't remember.
Okay. May have been, may not have been. you know.
Yeah, I don't.
That's fine. Were you missing any other property around that time, around October 10th of 2010?
I don't remember.
Okay. Can you tell us whether or not you were missing any gloves?
Yes, I was missing gloves.
What can you tell us about the gloves you were missing?
They were like a black pair of, I don't know what the fabric is called, but it's like a like chenille or
Okay.
like that type of fabric.
And when did you notice those gloves missing?
I don't remember when I noticed they were
Was it
missing.
around October 10th of 2010?
I know it was after that, yes, that I noticed.
That you noticed that they were missing?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about some things that occurred after Stephanie Lowe was murdered on October 10th. Do you recall a time in August of 2011 when you were contacted about your van being at a particular location?
Yes.
And the night before you were contacted about that, first off, who contacted you? Was it the Langley County Sheriff's
Yes.
Department?
Yes.
Before the night before the Langley County Sheriff's Department, before the Langley County Sheriff's Department contacted you, do you know if the defendant had gone out that night before?
Yes.
And did he tell you who he was going out with?
He was with a guy, but I can't remember what name it was.
So he told you he was going out with a guy?
Yes.
And later that night, you found out that he was found by the Langley County Sheriff's Department stuck in a ditch with your van, correct?
Correct.
And your van ended up being towed?
Yes.
Did you know he was taking your van that night, by the way?
I think that night I knew he was taking my van.
And so you became aware the van was towed, correct?
Yes.
Did you become aware who he was with that night?
Yes.
Who was he with?
His ex-wife,
Rebecca?
Rebecca.
And did you go pick up that van?
Yes, I did.
When you picked up your van, did you notice anything in the van that drew your attention?
Yes.
What did you notice?
A very large knife.
Where was that knife?
It was in my van, but I can't remember exactly where in the van.
Was it one of your knives?
No.
Had you ever seen that knife before?
No.
When you say very large, I mean, I'm not going to handle it, but just showing you it was previously marked as 226. Was it larger than this knife?
It was similar in size.
Okay. And so that was in the van.
Yes.
All right. And did you later talk to the defendant about that knife that you found in the van?
Yes.
What did he tell you about that?
He had told me he had other plans for Rebecca when he was with her.
Did he tell you if anybody else knew that Rebecca was with him that night?
He had said nobody knew that she had left with him.
Let's talk about bleach. Do you use bleach?
Yes,
How often?
I use it for cleaning, so kind of often.
And do you do anything, do you keep track of your bleach?
Yes,
Why?
because I like to keep my products stocked, my cleaning products.
Okay. And what do you do when you notice that your bleach is running low?
I usually put it on a list and buy it quite soon.
And after October 10th of 2010, did you notice anything about your bleach?
There was quite a bit missing from my bottle.
And did you ask the defendant about that?
Yes,
What did he say, if anything?
he made a comment, along the lines that he had used it.
And this was shortly after Stephanie Lowe was murdered?
Yes,
Now, do you recall that there was some discussion in the news media about some drugs being found at Stephanie Lowe's apartment?
yes,
Were you with the defendant when that news was being reported?
yes.
What, if anything, did the defendant say when he heard that news?
He had said that's what he was looking for.
Now, do you recall meeting with the defendant in September of 2014, around the time that he led law enforcement to where Stephanie Lowe's body was?
Yes,
Did you talk to him?
yes,
Do you recall if he made any mention in that of anything you should tell your daughter?
yes. He had told me to tell her that he made a mistake.
Did he say anything to you about what you were doing?
I don't remember.
Did he say anything about digging a hole?
That was at a different visit,
Okay.
but he did mention,
What did he say?
we were arguing about something, and he said, "You're just digging a bigger hole for yourself."
Do you recall a card that the defendant sent to your daughter Kylie?
Yes,
Do you recall a card where he had the letters DOLL?
yes,
And are you familiar with those letters?
yes,
Do you know if the defendant has a tattoo with those letters on it?
yes,
Have the defendant told you what those letters mean?
yes.
What do they mean?
Die or live loyal.
Now, Andrea, you didn't initially tell law enforcement about what happened, correct?
No, I did not,
Why not?
because I'm scared of Chris.
Do you see the individual in court here today who we've been talking about?
Yes,
Could you point him out by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
he's seated at the defendant's table wearing pink shirt and glasses.
Does the record reflect the identification of the defendant, Your Honor?
Noted.
Andrea, when you made any promises in return for your testimony?
No, I was not.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, we're going to take a break and start back about 10 o'clock. be seated. Take a recess, 10 o'clock. Start again.